The Constitution, our guiding document. The United States Constitution is a remarkable document, a cornerstone of our society. It's the blueprint for a nation founded on freedom, a set of rules designed to protect individual liberty from the overreach of government, ensuring that power remains with the people. It's not just a historical artifact, it's a living document that continues to guide us today. Understanding the Constitution, its origins, and its meaning is crucial for every American citizen. It is the foundation upon which our laws and rights are built. The Constitution establishes the structure of our government, dividing power between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, each with its own distinct responsibilities, powers, and limitations. This separation of powers, with its checks and balances, is designed to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful, ensuring a balanced and fair government. But the Constitution does more than just outline the mechanics of government. It guarantees fundamental rights and freedoms to every American citizen, enshrining the principles of liberty and justice. From freedom of speech and religion, which allow us to express our beliefs and ideas freely, to the right to bear arms, which provides for our defense and security, and the protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, which safeguards our privacy and personal space. These rights are the bedrock of our nation, forming the core of our values. They are not granted by the government. They are inherent rights that pre-exist government, recognized and protected by the Constitution. The Constitution's purpose is to secure these rights, not to infringe upon them, ensuring that our freedoms are preserved for future generations. Understanding the Constitution, therefore, is not just a matter of academic interest. It's about understanding the very principles of American liberty and the framework of our society. It's about recognizing that our rights come not from the government, but from our Creator, a higher power that transcends human authority, and that the government's role is to protect those rights, not to dictate their limits, ensuring that liberty and justice prevail. Originalism, understanding the founder's vision. How do we interpret the Constitution today? This question is more relevant than ever as we navigate the complexities of modern society. How do we apply its principles to the complex issues of the 21st century? With advancements in technology and changes in societal norms, this task becomes increasingly challenging. This is where the concept of originalism comes in. It offers a framework for interpreting the Constitution that remains true to its roots. Originalism is a method of constitutional interpretation that emphasizes the original meaning of the Constitution as understood by those who wrote and ratified it. It seeks to preserve the intentions of the Founding Fathers. Originalists believe that the Constitution's meaning is fixed and doesn't change with the times. They argue that this fixed meaning provides a stable foundation for law and governance. They argue that judges and lawmakers should interpret the Constitution based on the original public meaning of its text at the time it was adopted, not based on their own personal views or contemporary values. This approach aims to prevent subjective interpretations. Think of it like this. Imagine you find an old recipe book from the 18th century. The recipes are a snapshot of that time. You wouldn't try to make the recipes using modern ingredients and techniques, would you? Doing so would alter the original flavors and intentions of the dishes. You'd want to understand the original ingredients and methods used back then to recreate the dishes as they were intended. This approach respects the authenticity of the original recipes. Originalism approaches the Constitution in the same way. It seeks to preserve the original context and meaning. It seeks to understand the original meaning of the text, the principles it embodied, and the intentions of its framers. This method ensures that the Constitution remains a stable guide for governance. This ensures that the Constitution remains a stable and enduring document, not a malleable text that can be twisted to fit any political agenda. By adhering to originalism, we honor the vision of the Founding Fathers and maintain the integrity of our nation's foundational legal document. Rights guaranteed, powers limited, the Bill of Rights and beyond. This foundational document has shaped the very essence of American society. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, spells out some of our most cherished freedoms. These amendments were introduced to ensure that individual liberties would be protected from government overreach. These rights are not exhaustive, but they represent fundamental protections against government intrusion into our lives. They serve as a shield, safeguarding our personal freedoms and ensuring a balance of power. The First Amendment, for example, guarantees freedom of speech, religion, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government. These freedoms are the bedrock of a vibrant and open society. The Second Amendment protects an individual right to keep and bear arms, a right rooted in the idea, the right to self-defense, and as a safeguard against a tyrannical government. This amendment has sparked much debate, reflecting its complex nature in modern times. The Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures, requiring law enforcement to have probable cause and a warrant before intruding on our privacy. This ensures that our personal spaces remain secure. The Fifth Amendment protects us from self-incrimination and double jeopardy, while the Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to a fair and speedy trial. These protections are vital for maintaining justice and fairness in the legal system. These are just a few examples of the rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Each amendment plays a crucial role in protecting our freedoms and ensuring a just society. Your rights are not granted by the government, they are pre-existing fundamental human rights. The government's job is to protect your rights against any and all infringements. The Constitution doesn't grant rights. It recognizes and protects pre-existing rights. This distinction is fundamental to understanding the nature of our freedoms. The government's power is limited by these rights, and it cannot infringe upon them without due process of law. This framework ensures that liberty and justice remain cornerstones of American society. Section 4, Healthcare, Handouts, and the Constitution. Where's the line? Now let's apply these principles to some controversial issues. Does the Constitution guarantee a right to healthcare? Does it mandate government handouts? The answer, from an originalist perspective, is a resounding no. Nowhere in the Constitution will you find a right to healthcare or government-provided goods and services. The Constitution is a document that limits the power of the federal government, not one that grants it broad authority to redistribute wealth or provide for every citizen's needs. The Founding Fathers believed in limited government and individual responsibility. They understood that the government's role was not to provide for all of our needs, but to create an environment where individuals could pursue their own happiness and prosperity. This doesn't mean that helping those in need is wrong, or that there's no role for government assistance in certain circumstances. But it does mean that we need to be careful about expanding government power beyond its constitutional limits. A government powerful enough to give you anything you want is powerful enough to take away everything you need. When the government becomes too powerful, it threatens individual liberty. Section 5, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness, Applying Originalism to Abortion. The abortion debate is one of the most contentious issues in America today. From an originalist perspective, the question is not whether abortion is morally right or wrong, but whether the Constitution grants a right to abortion. The Constitution does not explicitly mention abortion. Proponents of abortion rights often point to the right to privacy as justification. However, originalists argue that the right to privacy, as understood by the framers, was not intended to encompass a right to abortion. The Declaration of Independence, written just a few years before the Constitution, speaks of our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This suggests that the right to life is a fundamental right that pre-exists government. Abortion is murder. You are violating the rights of one human being to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness on the whims of another. The Constitution does not give anyone the right to violate another's rights. In conclusion, we are faced with pivotal questions. How do you interpret the Constitution? What rights do you believe you have because of it? Do you think you are entitled to free health care? Does the Constitution grant you the right to other people's money through government handouts? Do you think you have the right to abortion? Do you believe you have the right to be free from being offended? The right to free college? Show me where any of that is in the Constitution. If you believe any of these are constitutional rights, perhaps it's time to revisit the document. It's also crucial to delve into the other writings of the founders to grasp their mindset and intent when drafting our founding documents. Thomas Jefferson once wrote, "On every occasion of constitutional interpretation, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted, recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying to force what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, instead let us conform to the probable one in which it was passed. When we read the Constitution, we must read it for what it says, not for what we wish it said. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights list specific limited powers for the federal government and enumerate pre-existing individual rights that the government cannot restrict. Every citizen should be aware of their rights and what are not their rights. We must be vigilant. We must be prepared to defend our rights if necessary. The left often infringes on our rights and tells us that certain things are rights when they are not. This causes confusion and creates a class of citizens that are unaware of their rights and dependent on the ruling class for entitlements. Understanding the true power of interpretation is essential. As citizens, we hold the responsibility to uphold the integrity of our founding documents. Let us read, reflect, and protect the principles that form the bedrock of our nation.